Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon listeners. It's me Suleiman Ben Swai coming back on Facebook Live. Juma Mubarak to all of you. If you just give me a minute, let me share this video and the program will start. Sorry, I've got a thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. It's me Suleiman Ben Swai. Today is Friday, the 3rd of September 2021. The time just gone 33 minutes past 5 in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. Sorry, I've got this irritation on my down my throat. I might be coughing a little bit just to clear my throat. And the program is about our national security. It's about the deployment of extra troops, almost the size of a battalion, about 600 something, depends what company sizes are, but as an operational, for operational troops, they might be time a battalion, to support. And the reason why, it's unfortunate, our government don't respect us, to give us any reason. And it seems our politicians don't bother to ask the right questions. But before we get to that position to talk about the main topic, that will be the main topic, I want again to get back to this issue about Gambians for us to wake up. For us to wake up. With everything happening in the past 4 years, almost 5 years now, it's quite clear Adama Barrow and people around Adama Barrow, they have no interest. They have no national interest. They are not patriotic, they are not nationalist. They don't care about what happened with the country or with the people. All they care about is what they get from the people, what they get from our resources, and to spend it on themselves and their family. Almost everywhere in the country, especially most prime locations, land has been given away, and mainly given to foreigners, and not to the interest. We are not saying that foreigners should not own land in the country. We don't say investors should not have land in the country, but should be to the interest of the people. Things have to be done sustainably. It's not happening in the country. And land is about national security. We have seen the issue in Jinak, where a Senegalese national apparently has been given, or in the process of giving, a vast area to develop as a city. There are many things wrong with that. It's an ecological site. We need to respect the flora and the fauna. We need to respect our flood plains. We need to respect our environment. But this government, this disregard, they don't care. All they care about, the kickbacks coming to them, and they take that and utilize it for themselves. The case with Jinak, not only about the environment, but again, there's national security implications. Jinak, the certain areas in Jinak, it is within the border in Gambia and Senegal. If you give that amount of land to a foreigner, to a Senegalese, who determines who occupied the land? Who determines what what sort of arrangement do they have? They don't care about those things. They don't look at these national security implications. They don't care. And secondly too, even, does the gentleman in fact have what it takes? We just learned about Econ, and when some of us were talking about Econ, about the Econ city and all those things, and we said, look, we have to be careful. Econ have come out here talking about light in Africa. Where did it take us? The devil is in the detail. Now, this guy is talking about land. What they do? They take this land, sign documents, and hold on to the land. And most of these people are hustlers. If they're lucky, they hit it, investors will fall for it. Drug dealers, anybody, they don't care. Anybody that have the money would put their money to launder their money. If they're lucky. If not, if it doesn't look lucrative, they don't have investors, they hold on to the land. But technically, because of the way the land was issued to them, in period of 5, 6, 7 years, they started to change the hands. The land started to change hands. The community of Jinak would be deprived, the Gambia would be deprived. Then means that our development is not sustainable because it's not strategically planned. This is what Adama Barrow has been doing. Now we talk of Jinak and others. Look, I cannot go into details on everything. We all know what's happening. It's just to remind us the importance of these elections. This is not about who you love or who you hate. It's not about love or hate. This is about what benefits our country. That's where we should be thinking of. what benefits our country in the long term. This is not about short term, just seeing roads being built or houses being built or buildings being built to be called a hospital or a clinic. That's not it. We should be critical to make sure that what is implemented, it's viable, it's going to last, it's going to work. It's not just about someone winning elections. The tourist development area, literally there's no area that's reserved anymore. It's just a matter of time whether we find out or not. Yesterday or day before yesterday, we saw a place called the Old Bike Track, an environment protected area again. According to the gentleman that was there, said about 120 something species of bird within that area is technically, according to him, is unheard of. And Gambia is known for its as a bird watching destination. These are the things, some of the needs we have. These are some of the needs we have to compete in the tourism market. But what do we have? We have a tourism minister that doesn't care, land minister doesn't care, a president doesn't care, environment minister doesn't care. The entire cabinet doesn't care. Everything is about their wages, their per diems, their allowances, and so on. That vast amount of land again been given, I don't know to who. Likely not a Gambian. Likely not a Gambian. Again, I said we have no problem been given to investors or whatever, but you have to be right. Do we know what's going up there? Might not be suitable for that area. I mean, we cannot just go on giving this land just like that. What we hold up for the future development? Who cares? I mean, these people don't care. They don't care. These are the reasons why we should wake up and realize what Adama Barrow is doing is one strategy. Everything about Adama Barrow since he came into power and people around him, it's all that. Tell me anything that Barrow does for the country or the people. He doesn't have interest in anything else. I'm not sure whether it's about devils or whatever. The guy is like he's shy away from empathy. He's shy away from empathy. He's shy away from doing things rational. Not hospitals. Yes, they are talking about building more clinics. And in inverted commas somewhere there, saying that they, in the process of doing that, they're going to rehabilitate. I thought that's not true. In the process of that, they're going to rehabilitate. Let them rehabilitate first. In development, you have to look after your built infrastructure first. The existing infrastructure have to be maintained before you think of building new. If you cannot maintain the existing, how can you build new? Yes, if they run around now and refurbish certain, if they run around now and go and refurbish some hospitals or clinics or whatever it is, what's the sustainability of it? While they go and build more clinics, they're not even looking after the nurses. How many students now want to be a nurse? Or if they become a nurse, you don't think they're looking for a lucrative contract to go and work for the private sector or try and travel out of the country and work? Who blames them? We all try to look after ourselves and our family. Yes, we do sacrifice for the society or our country. But you cannot kill yourself and destroy your family for people that don't care. What is this? I mean, everything else is two things. What Adama Barrow gets out of it? New bill is procurement. Corruption, the biggest part of corruption will come from, theft will come from procurement. So that they can give out contracts and get kickbacks. That's why you hear roads. Things that are necessary, things are immediate, things that are priority, he doesn't care about them. The hospitals, the nurses, there's no point building hospitals when you don't have the staff, the qualified staff, the motivated staff, the equipment, and so on and so forth. Talking about buying ambulances, these are things that they do just to get something out of it. And two, For them, it's easier to show a new building and that's, as we call it, white elephant, to say that they have brought about development. To say, oh, we brought a hospital. Because it's just a building. Nothing else. Now, so that they can have political capital. Oh, I build roads. The roads are not prioritized. Strategically, you have to build roads and make it sustainable, where it impacts more. Every corner of the country deserves to be built, but we have to have priority in order to do it sustainably. If the heart of the economy is disrupted, where are we going to get the money to pay back the loans? That's why you have priorities. You make sure things work. But this government doesn't care about that. The OIC projects, are failing due to corruption. Yes, it starts from putting the wrong people in place. The person in charge doesn't have any experience, doesn't have the capacity. The person next to him doesn't have the experience, doesn't have capacity. The team itself doesn't have the experience, the capacity to run that project. But they rather put people in place that will let them abuse the systems to have their kickbacks. Now that's the reason I said that last week, why Adam Barrow is thinking that Saudi might not approve the projects. The projects should be approved if everything is all right. The only reason, if Saudi refuse to fund it, Saudi have already pledged that they were going to fund it, just as the EU have pledged to give that support. But that support was based on conditions. But we failed. That's why we don't talk about a national development plan. Barrow doesn't talk about it, because there's nothing like a national development plan. It's a Barrow development plan with his cabal. That's what they are interested in. Time for election now. We have all seen the retired soldiers not been paid, our soldiers not been taken care of. Regardless of what you think, they are national institutions. We need to rebuild them. We cannot blame them for everything that happened. It's about leadership. Since we came to power, we have the opportunity to change what's in there. Did we do that? But in fact, we are making them to pose as a threat to our national security, which should have been the other way around. They should have been part of a national development plan. The soldiers are not being paid their entitlements when they retire. They are citizens. They are our brothers and sisters. Soldiers are not being paid their allowances when they go on missions. Yes, there's some soldiers, but they're Senegalese counterparts. When they last mid the park farmer store, still now there are Gambian soldiers who are not paid their allowances. But the Senegalese were paid forthwith. How do you think that the soldiers will feel? Our nurses, allowances. You see, Barrow doesn't have a problem paying per diems. Barrow doesn't have a problem paying allowances. Barrow doesn't have a problem giving money to political actors. How many people, we just saw turned around and become wealthy or whatever it is? You see the evidence in their appearance. The Sidinjais, the Dusanos and others. Now they, riding on four-wheel drives, been paid salaries, been paid allowance, been given campaign money, and orders. Now it's the turn of the APRC. To the extent of the APRC are flexing their muscles, going to Coco Ozone to hold their meetings. Coco Ozone. We all know Coco Ozone is one of the most expensive. What important meetings do they have? Every political party hold their meeting at their political party bureaus. They have a political bureau. But no, the money is so flush. They're going to Coco Ozone to dine. That's where they held their meetings now. Where the money coming from is from Barrow. But it's not going to hospitals. It's not going to our nurses. How come a government cannot meet. It's an overdue payment. It's an overdue payment. There shouldn't be an excuse. Even the nurses are desperately going to a strike. The government doesn't care. But it's us. It's left to us Gambians. It's left to us Gambians to change that. It's left to us Gambians to change that. Some people want to blame the nurses. Do you know what it feels like to risk your life every day? We all know the pandemic and other things. Do you know what it's like to be paid money that's not enough even to take care of nothing? And your entitlement, what money that you are owed, not to be paid when you have a wife or you have a husband or you have a family back or you have your mother or support people that you have to support. You don't have money to support them. And the government owes you money. And the same government you see every day spending money on political actors. What would you feel? You do anything possible to get that money. You do anything to provide for your family. That's why we should have that solidarity with the nurses. Why is government not listening? Why are they ignoring the nurses? Because we allow them. The outrage is not out there. We are looking at differences. We are looking at differences. Looking at every opposition party or any candidate. Try to smear them. Rather than look at the person who's our problem right now. Who's the problem now, and concentrate on that. This false confidence building. This false confidence building. And this is very important. This is very important. I will touch on to this. And that's why we should be very careful. Barrow knows that he doesn't have what it takes. Barrow knows that. Barrow doesn't have confidence that he's going to win these elections. That's why the last time he got 200 sheriffs to come down. 200 sheriffs. He started taking some of the vehicles of Yajami, put it in the Casamas, put some of these vehicles in Bissau and everywhere else, give it to Marmarabos. The other time we have seen the nephew brought other sheriffs from Mauritania. We have seen the Senegalese scammers, so-called Serine cast, coming to the Gambia. All that is just desperation. But not only that. This so-called trip to here, trip to there, foundation, this, everything using the same methods. Or this issue about, calling up for 10,000 youths. We all know what that is made of. He doesn't have the confidence. That's why he's desperate throwing money, good money that should go to the people, throwing it to APRC. He doesn't have confidence. He cannot, the numbers doesn't add up. The numbers doesn't add up. It's impossible for Barrow to win an election. It's impossible. Numbers doesn't add up. Tell me one constituency that he dominates. But this is why we have to concentrate on this, because Barrow will try to destabilize the country. We'll come to the reason why he would need extra troops. Because Barrow has committed enough crimes. He would want to run. That's why I always tell Gambians to be very careful. Let us be tolerant. We support anywhere you want to support. If you want to support Barrow, go on. That's your business. But let us not destabilize the country. Let us not fight among ourselves. Barrow is protected in a garrison, and Barrow will be airlifted if anything goes wrong. That's what they do. They will run away. Barrow will run away. Just as Yaya may run away. Barrow knows that he cannot live in that country free for the corruption and people around him. For the corruption, they will do anything. And some of the people around him, they know it's only a Barrow government. They will be anywhere close to State House. To be called presidential advisors, to be called anything. They will do anything to maintain Barrow's government. That's a risk. That's desperation. They are posing as a risk in that country. It's us to go out there, encourage our people to vote for the opposition overwhelmingly. But the Barrow not to get the votes, then he will not have a choice. Just as in Zambia, when the incumbent wanted to try it, but realized that it's over 1 million people voted against him, he had to give up. And if it was too tight, he was going to claim that the elections was rigged and the country would be destabilized. Why do you think the first thing the new president did was to try to rearrange the security? Because of the security were arranged to serve a purpose, not for the national. Barrow is that desperate. It's not adding up. It's easy. The amount of money being thrown and given to people to mobilize youths, our kids and everything. Anywhere he goes, they have to go around and get it. Anybody can do that. Does that represent anything? Does that represent 100,000 people? Can anybody tell me that convincingly 100,000 Gambians can easily go out there and vote for Barrow? That would be telling on us. He is desperate. He knows that he cannot live freely because of the corruption. What would he do? He'll do anything possible. But Gambians should not be intimidated. Gambians should not be intimidated. Let me come on to the issue about the presence of Senegalese troops. You see, this is about national security and it's very sensitive. And we have to be very careful. That's why leaders should be very careful and very act responsibly. Because it's about the security of the nation. It's about our sovereignty. It's about our territorial integrity. It's about our relationship with Senegal. It's about families. That's why we should be careful. The failure, there is no foreign force that can protect you. You protect yourself. How do you protect yourself? Leadership. How do you protect yourself? Institutions. How do you protect yourself? The citizens. To value. The citizen to have ownership of that country. Afghanistan is the latest. We all saw what happened in Afghanistan. And I know if you say it about Afghanistan, some people will not get the comparisons. I'll tell you one thing. Foreign nationals, foreign forces, other sovereign countries, when they take part in anything, it's to their strategic interest. If they take part in anything, it's their strategic interest, just as for NATO and other things. And when things change, they change with that interest. That's why America abandoned Kabul. They could have protected Kabul. The Taliban would not have moved. They would not even need to put boots on the ground. They could strategically target these people with drones and anything and keep them on board and protect the Afghan. No. The interests have changed. They have changed. Who negotiated? I mean, I don't want to even get there, but that's what the facts are. If the people don't see a need, the corruption of the Kabul government, the so-called democratic government that was in Kabul, it was entirely corrupt. What did the president do? He ran away, just as Barrow would run away. Allegedly, with millions. But even without carrying millions, they already have millions in Dubai. The minute he left, I said he's going to be in Dubai. They're going to be in the Emirates. It's always the people that will suffer. And people wonder why that army did not fight. Who they're going to fight, what they were going to fight, who they're going to fight for. That's why we should be very careful. And I'll go through the post I wrote when I saw this information. I started by saying, if reports are true, what is the opposition political party's position on this development? I mean, if it was true, now it's true, because I've just seen it first on what's on Gambia. I didn't have time to verify anything, but I just had to react, and I had to caveat that and say, if it's true, I push it to the opposition first. You see, Ben Swari can do, spend his 1 hour, 2 hours here, and someone else, other people. But ultimately, the alternative, the opposition parties, the press on the ground, which we know that technically they all turn out to be a PR companies now. We don't have it seems that we don't have a press. They're all serving an interest of one entity or another, or the highest bidder. Now the opposition that have invested everything to put themselves out there, they should tell us what their positions are, but you will not. And this is where it gets scary. We leave it till it's too late, and it happens, then we react. Why can't we be critical? Why can't we hold Barrow accountable? Why can't we hold the system accountable? Why can't we hold the international community accountable? The international community is listening. The Gambia Armed Forces is listening. They want to hear what our leaders are talking about. Is the opposition part of the conspiracy that they don't trust the armed forces? Is the opposition part of the conspiracy that they feel the armed forces completely hopeless, they can do anything with it? I tell you one thing though, whether we like it or not, we have to deal with them. It's up to us what we do with them in consultation and see what we cannot. They are there. We have to deal with that issue. If any opposition want to be viable, have to have a mean strategy and have to start talking now. You cannot sit down in the corners to say that, yeah, we have our manifesto. When the most important thing is security, where do you stand in security? And are you engaging? No. That's why I first pointed out onto the opposition. I said, hope the journalists will ask the defense minister why they need additional foreign soldiers in the country after 4 years of democracy without any open conflict. No, we only see the defense minister or the people when they want to sell a message. If a journalist goes out there and they refuse, now we have a freedom of information bill. Are they going to make use of that? Why can't we go and ask these questions? What is new? 4 years. Look, we had an impasse. After 4 years, we didn't have an open conflict. We don't even have skirmishes, or literally. Yes, statements are made and stuff like that. And most of those statements are coming from where? From the leadership, especially from State House. What do we have to be scared about? What do they know we don't know? Why the additional troops? Would it be Parliament? Address Parliament? Yes, I understand they're coming under economic. Why even economic is still in the country anyway? After 4 years. Who is the threat? The president is negotiating with the party that represented the dictator. Where is the threat? I mean, we have 4 years. We didn't have any open conflict. All the communal conflict we have is about corruption, it's about land, it's about resources. We have not been dealing with that. We should not still have economic in that country if Barrow have delivered what he should have delivered. Then it's a failure of Barrow. The insecurity we are in now is a failure of governance. We cannot blame the soldiers. We cannot continue to be suspicious of our soldiers or of our armed forces. Why keep them? It was the responsibility of Barrow. The resources, billions of dollars have been pumped in. Why didn't he deal with it? But would our journalists do the right thing and go and question the defense minister and others? But what would the opposition do? Which opposition party is going to address this? You see, that's where the difference is. The undecided voters and other people that want to be part of something. I mean, they want to hear, they want to see the person that represents, that have that the caliber to prove that they are alternative. They are acting as a government ready to deal with our national securities. Let me move on. Are the additional troops coming under the economic mission or under the Senegalese contingent based in Fonyi? Hope Gambians remember that the Senegalese contingent in Fonyi are not under the economic mission. This, when I wrote this, I was not sure which part of which part they were reinforcing. I heard, I'm still not sure, that it's under economic. Be careful. We need the details. We have not heard from the economic communication. Can the journalists just go down to Bakau and ask the secretariat whether it's an economic reinforcement? It's very important to know. It's very important because it's only Gambia. We have Senegalese troops part of economic under the economic command or command under the economic command, but we have a separate contingent of Senegalese in Fonyi under a Senegalese command, under a bilateral agreement, God knows. Now we have additional troops coming in. We need to know where those additional troops belong to. Are they coming under the economic mandate, or are they going under the bilateral mandate? It's easy to find out. Walk out there, go and ask ECOWAS and the ECOWAS Secretariat. Go and ask the economic command. They will tell you. Most people even realize that these two entities were different when the gentleman was killed in the Fonyi by the Senegalese soldiers. That's the time the economic said, no, it's nothing to do with us. That contingent there is not part of economic. They are not under our command. That's how some of us knew. And we are supposed to be the people informed. Even we were surprised that we allowed that to exist. If you ask me, there's no strategic advantage of stationing those people there. Why do you need a forward operational base in Fonyi? You see, I'm not even going there, but I'll tell you, the only strategic advantage you have is for Senegal. Not of any strategic advantage. There's no looming threat around there, I mean, to need that. And we could have taken care of that. What's the point of our army? There's nobody can justify. Why do we need that? In fact, it's counterproductive. It's counterproductive. That's why I say we have to be very careful. And I'll get to the reason I say it's counterproductive. Because our relationship with Senegal should be handled very sensitively. We are two separate nations of the same people. We should be very careful. It's easy to irritate citizens and get them to manifest their nationalistic feelings. And you can't blame them for being nationalistics when they are being provoked. And we have to be careful. I went to number two. What have gone wrong with the security sector reforms? Let the journalists ask the defense minister why they need additional foreign soldiers in the country after 4 years of democracy without any open conflict. What's gone wrong with the SSR? What's gone wrong? Security sector reforms, 4 years. 4 years. I can give you an overview. Be in on a document, be in on a presentation, the things that needed to be done, and 3 to 6 months. Within 3 months, confidence will be being boosted, and within 6 months, you can surely starting to say that your reforms, you can count on a milestone on your reforms. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. But the first thing first is that the people, reforms are leadership based. In leadership, you have to have the right leadership to reform. Reform is about mindset. The leadership has to have the right mindset. Reforms it's about moving forward, and you cannot have someone contaminated or compromised, someone with conflicting interests to lead your reforms. That's where we have gone wrong. First things first, we already had, and always, the momentum. We had the momentum when we came in. The mandate we have, but we had a momentum. The political will was there. The people, the support was there for reform. Even the soldiers accepted their failures. Did we do anything? No. Everything got compromised. Then you need to take care of the risk. Identify the risk and take care of that risk. Then go on to the reform by looking at the structures and look at the capacity. But again, these are just to deal about the risk and so on. And finally, once you get to the milestone, that's where your strategic documents will come out. The need. What do we need? These are our brothers and sisters. What the risks are that you cannot just let them finish their service without any skills. The only skills they have would be only good for a mercenary. And right now, this is what we experiencing. Intakes the vast majority of soldiers are leaving after their time. That's why the accounts are having problems to pay pay them the gratuities because of the projections are, just show you the failure. They were not expecting a certain amount of people to be living at that time. But just tells you again the failure of the reforms. Within a year of any person finishing their service, or 2 years in fact, because, there should be a pathway for someone to retire. Someone should be ready to retire, especially from the army. 2 years before retirement, the person should have, there should be a mechanism for the person to go through a pathway, so that when they come out, they will continue to be beneficial to society. Gambia, we lack skills. We lack a lot of people with skills. They are coming from a disciplinary force. Some of them want to go into continuing education, others want to do other things. But no, now we have all these people retiring and staying in the country. Some of them trying the back way and coming back, using their gratitude duty or whatever they have investment to try the back way and being returned back. Do we realize what is happening in the country? And we think in bringing additional troops is the solution? 4 years. There's nothing tangible that they can tell you, oh, we have this document, we have this document. If Gambians just have seen that, gone and read through the document, it's just generic. It's generic, it's just rubbish. There's no wonder they cannot implement it. First things first. First things first. And I hope we run around calling candidates coming out, political parties running around. I hope these people, hoping to take over. The alternative are looking into this. We have to be prepared. We have to be prepared. The minute you start to you already have a program to take care of this. It's not sustainable. As we said, the failure of the security sector reform. That was 3. Number 4, where is the threat coming from? Where is the threat coming from? What threat do we have? What threat do we have? Even economics to still be in the country. Is the armed forces? Tell me. You think the economic is in the country because of the Gambian civilians? We have seen the threat the civilians are facing, that the police should be dealing with, that the security service should be dealing with. Have they dealt with it? No. Do we remember the 12 million or how many million from the Joshua robbery? Did we hear anything about it again? No. And we have a police force. None. Nothing. No arrest, no nothing. Apparently, there was arrest, and apparently senior police officers were implicated. Apparently. That's what they say, allegations. But then, we don't hear anything about it. I can go on and count. When the judge, something bad, was held hostage, when the judge, that lady judge, had a PIU guards, armed guards, but these guys managed to get into his her compound and hold hostage with the daughter and took everything and left. Still, nothing been heard about that robbery. About the carjacking or whatever you call it, another 16 million, 20 million, whatever it is, the Bureau de Sands in Sukuta or Nema. Did we hear anything about that again? No. About the other bikejacking of $300,000 from the bank, whatever, the engineer, did we hear anything about that? No. You see? This and other people been raided all the time. The dead, how many people been killed? The mutilated body of the young woman and others and others. These are issues. Our immediate needs, our threats are more of internal. We don't have an external threat. It's internal. And if you count the armed forces to be internal, then you blame the government for having 4 years and do nothing about it. When you have a security guarantee, you have economic there. You want to tell us you can't deal with this? Then why should we vote for you? You see, this is the argument people should, the candidates should be taken to the people. The candidates should be taking this to the people. If you cannot, you're telling us you can't deal with it. You failed 4 years, we still have economic here. What threat are they dealing with? You failed. Now, what is going to happen after elections? You think then whatever was the problem is just going to evaporate and disappear? Economic will have to continue. Would it? Or if they leave, what's going to happen? You see, these are the things that we need to deal with. The economic presence was the threat. As I said, they are not only there to counter the armed forces. Is it wise? Is it? No, we should not have been dealing with it. These things should have been solved. Generally, members of the armed forces are patriotic. They will be loyal to the people. It depends what the leadership becomes. But the leadership doesn't even engage them because they have the wrong leadership in the army itself. They compromise themselves and you expect to change. Where is the threat coming from? And we dealt with the other one. Number 5. What's still? Why do we still have economic in the country? Why do we still have economic in the country? Because of what? You don't tell me because of the reforms are not complete. 4 years. You don't tell me there's a threat. Let's move on to 6. Why maintain the army? What will indicate the end of economic presence in the Gambia? Why maintain the army? If you think there are a problem, why maintain them? This is what the reform should have done. You see, the reform should have answered, what do we need? You can call it army, call it whatever. But we all know this. Gambia will never able to fight, to defend itself, its territory by physical force. Who against who? War is economy one. War is economy one. War is about strength. You have to have the strength, population. War is about geostrategical, reasons, and that means economy as well. You see, what physical strength can you use in order to defend your country? It's impossible. Yes, there will be threats as a sovereign nation, But what do you need in order to deal with those threats? You identify those threats. And you'll be surprised. The solution is governance, good governance. Yes, you will have, or you will always have an aspect of physical security for contingency plan. You just don't say, oh, I've dealt with this, everything's okay. No, you will have something. And that's why you have periodical review. You look at the threats, you review your strategy, you put in your contingency plans. You change. In the Gambia, it's about leadership. You see, our existence as a nation would not be sustainable without a strategy of a continuous cooperation and for looking into future integration with Senegal, because the way the globe is, no, there's no sovereign nation that have been the same for a century. There's no sovereign nation that have been the same for the same century. Gambians, we should have to start to accept certain facts. Naturally, it will happen. It's an evolvement of where we are, of who the people we are. Then, as leaders, what we do to manage that evolvement, so that our identity, and it will go on smoothly. It will go on smoothly. We are not. I mean, we are likely to integrate than disintegrate. How can we disintegrate? How can we disintegrate? We are likely to integrate. Then can we manage that properly, so that we are not in disadvantage? So that as a nation we are not in disadvantage. Then in order to protect our territorial integrity, the investment should be onto the people. Onto the people of the Gambia. Do you know why in some part of the world you hear about Senegal? It was because of Youssou, a musician. Some parts in Japan had about Senegal through Youssou. You see, that's what you have, the citizens that can expand your territory. Your territorial integrity is not only your physical geography. The Gambian diaspora, today, we are calling for every right. We are interacting, we are part of that development. Then, you see the expansion of our territory. We can be a great nation. We can be a great nation. It's not the size, it's the quality of citizens. It's the quality of citizens, and we can invest in our citizens to have that. Gambians are sophisticated to be that. But we have to get out and get the right leadership in order to do that. It's not sustainable. And Barrow is not the answer. Barrow have proven not to be the answer. What's the debate here? The debate should be the alternative, among the alternative. That's why I keep on saying, why keep on attacking each other? Can you go on policy? Can you hold each other accountable on policy? Gambia will be better off. Barrow should be the one not part of this discourse. He has nothing absolute to give. He has given this chance. 5 good years. He has completely failed with the goodwill from the international community, goodwill from Gambians, and the contribution from the diaspora. Still this person failed. He only empowered himself. Why did we still have economic inequality? The only thing, why maintain the army? What would indicate the end of economic? No, nothing. Did we learn anything from Afghanistan? Foreign forces don't keep the stability of a country, but they help the citizens to build institutions and towards good governance. They can help you stabilize. A stabilizing force, that's what economics should be. And the rest should be us doing the right thing. Us. Institutions. You know, when Afghanistan, they pump billions. Look, look, I don't want to go in depth. Let me just have an overview here. America would want to position their troops in different corners of the world because that's what they are. And most of the billions you hear are investment that invested in their army, and investment in their industries, defense industry, and their service industry. That's what they've been paying for. The other billions that went into Afghanistan through its contract they given to their people to build Afghanistan, but for geostrategic reasons. They needed Afghanistan. Not only to stop the so-called terrorists going, not so-called, sorry, this, to stop terrorists, moving from Afghanistan. They could have stopped that without occupying the country. They have other reasons. We have to understand the location of Afghanistan. They have Iran. They have China. They have Pakistan. And further down, they have India. That means a lot. And I advise Gambians to read I'll get to the name again. But to understand the national security, these wars are not new. This war's been fought before, and they will fight again. The problem with Afghanistan, it's not Afghanistan alone. It's of a strategic political decision. Their hands been mingling into Afghanistan. Afghanistan had enjoyed stability before. Afghanistan have been progressing with their cultures and everything before. But the Russians started, and the West used went on a proxy war. It went, that's how it went. And right now, that's another reason it's starting now. China is in the corner. Iran is in the corner because of America have miscalculated and lost the control they have over Iraq. Now, Iraq is a sheer influence country, and now Iran have a strategic advantage. Now these things have to be balanced. China, the Uyghurs and other things, they have to be kept busy. Another proxy war would start someday. They are thinking ahead. And if you think that America lost, you don't understand the geopolitical game they play. They're releasing certain things in order to concentrate on others. They'll come back, or they'll keep it busy with something else. Then Gambia, we should understand these things. We are a sovereign nation. We are not a small nation. There's nothing like a small nation when it comes to sovereignty. We have equal rights, and we have enough opportunity to develop as a nation. But we cannot do that without leaders. Then we don't expect to have foreign forces in our country to stabilize us and to maintain that. Now, let's look at this in the case of the presence of economic or Senegalese forces. The longer they stay, the more they have influence over our government. Now, any negotiations, anything, who benefits? Senegal benefits on us. We are not on the same level. They have an advantage on the negotiating table. They are there to entrust them with our security. How do we negotiate with them? And this should not be. We could have taken care of this. We have competent Gambians to do this. That's why we need a change in leadership for that to happen. It's to the geostrategic interest of Senegal to send their troops in the Gambia. Senegal sent their troops in the Gambia. Do you know who feed them? The international community feeds them. Now their budget is not feeding them, and the Senegalese are deployed. They have experience, and they are taking care of themselves. Senegalese service personnel stationed in the Gambia for 6 months, he will be better off than being stationed in Senegal. The allowance has been paid. His life experience. What those do to our country? We are undermining. We undermine the security. The already mission creep, now the morale of the security and everything else. How do we build a nation like that? Senegal benefits. Their allowances and most of other things, of a certain part of their equipment will be taken care of by the international community. They are not losing anything. And now they have a strategic advantage because they're looking after this. You see, they have that approximately to our president. Yeah, they influence him. That's why they have what they have. End of the day, as I said, naturally we will integrate. The time of integration, we are at disadvantage. We would be a second class citizen within Senegambia rather than be Senegambian. I'll tell you that. If we continue like this, Adama Barrow continues, Senegalese forces will continue to stay, and technically we'll lose our sovereignty. It's up to us to change that. Barrow should not be in the negotiations of our future. No. Go out there among opposition parties to talk to each other and approach the people, win them over. And let's have an opposition party to win this election and have a vibrant opposition to continue to hold the government accountable. A good governance is a government being held accountable. It's not to our interest to this thing to continue. It should not continue. Number 8, where Number 10, sorry. What measures will indicate the end of economic presence in Gambia? We deal with that. Number 11, did we learn anything from Afghanistan this area? Number 12, President Macky Sall lost all the moral authority to police democracy. He has already, he is already in the process of overthrowing democracy in Senegal. Now, this is very important. Why are these Senegalese troops in the Gambia? Is it because of the elections coming? Now, we cannot identify any other threat apart from elections coming. Why soldiers? What's the role of soldiers to police, civilians? Because soldiers, as we all know of economic, were out there, their mandate is because of, we believe there was going to be a threat from the Gambia Armed Forces because of their loyalty to Germany. Now, after 4 years and everything going on with the negotiation Barrow is having with the police and everything else, the threat should have been, dealt with. A continued presence of economic is not the solution. Now, elections is the thing coming. Now, are they anticipating? The army, no. Is this an intimidation? Try to intimidate Gambians. This is things we do. What is the additional battalion doing in the country? What's the additional battalion doing? Yeah, I call them battalion because they reinforce it. They are 600. They are 625. Reinforcing what? To do what? Macky Sall have lost that moral courage to dictate them. To preach democracy. Right now, he's putting Senegalese national security at risk by forcing himself for attack. We all have seen what happened in March. Now, what this says about us, the opposition should think about this. This opposition should step on the table now. International community takes it seriously, Gambians take it seriously. This is an issue we can deal with. We can go to election peacefully. We can hold our elections with integrity, and we can make sure that whoever loses will vacate. These are the things we should be talking about. Macky Sall should not be. He doesn't have to decide. You expect Macky Sall would do anything right after what he's doing to his own country? On democracy? No. Before even any decision taken by Senegal, they will look at it. What's to their interest? I'll tell you that. Yes, we might be the same people, but end of the day, we are different sovereign nations. What to their interest? Now, the extra Senegalese troops, what do we expect? You deploy troops, extra troops for contingency plan, reinforcement for contingency plan. You must have something anticipated. You must have developed scenarios. Your strategies look at scenarios. Okay, what if? Fine. If it is explained that these additional troops, which I think are from the commando, this thing, in that region, are to do what? If there's an election dispute and they are scared of the army taking over, That might be a scenario. I'm not saying it's the scenario. Let me make this clear, because I don't want people to run and say, oh, Ben said this is the scenario. No. I said it might be the scenario. They didn't tell us. I didn't have any insight of this. It's my experience I'm trying to put in here. We try to logically think about what is happening here. What might be acceptable? What might be acceptable? You see, that's why it's important to sit on the table. What might be acceptable to Gambians? Yes, because Adama Barrow have failed the security sector reforms. Probably they know something we don't know. Because I'm here, I cannot say that I know everything that's in the armed forces. But I can tell you, there's a big threat in the armed forces. And that's the failure of the reforms. Now, what's likely now? Because we have not developed the democratic institutions. We undermined the parliament. We have undermined the politics of everything. Conspiracies everywhere. Trust is nowhere. And we have seen the way the registration have been going and everything else. It's likely that one party loses, that party will claim, no, I'm not settling for this. And another party will contest. What do we have? We have an impasse. We have a stalemate. Now, if this thing developed, and we don't, because of, we don't have robust democratic institutions in the country, or leadership for that matter, because of we have not seen our leaders dealing with these issues, the country would be in crisis, constitutional crisis. Then what would the army do? ECOMIC might rationalize to say that, oh, we might need extra troops to do what? So that we can deploy, if necessary, to hold strategic locations, or strategic installations. These are the things they can do. Strategic location, installation, some roadblocks and so on. And so that if the army decided to move out, because of the constitutional stalemate we have, crisis we have, in order to take power from the people, they can be stopped. And because once they position that, it's easier so that reinforcement can plot in. Because if you don't hold the strategic locations and installations, it will be difficult to bring in reinforcement. That's rational. You see, that's rational. That's why we need to have this conversation. That's rational. Because, the power belongs to the people. It's up to politicians and civilians to go into this discussion or whatever it is to resolve it. Not to the army to take over by excuse that you cannot do this. It happened in Mali. Remember Mali? Remember Mali? That's what happened in Mali. Dispute. The army jumped and took over. Probably, I'm saying probably this is the contingency plan. That's why I said you check the scenarios. But one thing we have to rule out, that which I want to reassure Gambians that should not happen or will not happen. I don't think will dare happen. But we should not just rule it out. We should consider it and position ourselves. Do you foresee yourself? I want to say this for Gambians not to be intimidated that Adama Barrow is bringing these people to attack Gambians. No. I don't think Macky Sall will do that. I don't think Senegalese will do that. I don't think Senegalese forces will do that. Even we see in their impasse, what happened in Mali, they have restraint. I don't think the international committees would sit by and see that being done. But I don't think Gambian politicians, regardless of their differences, that day, I don't think Gambian politicians will sit down and blame each other. They will be with the people. And everybody will be against Adama Barrow that day if it to happen. But again, the second scenario would be if the tension grew up. Again, the contingency planning second option would be to hold strategic locations, to hold strategic installations, to check the army in order to extract the problem. Well, how do you extract the problem? Adama Barrow. Take him out to exile. Then Gambians can negotiate and the army would have to be staying back and then Gambians will negotiate. This might be the second one. You see, we have to look at this. This might be the second reason why Senegal are sending an extra troops. Contingency planning. Strategy, you have to develop that. The third one, which I said I don't think is possible, to have Senegalese troops in the streets of Gambia, to position, to go after the opposition, to enforce anything. If that happened, that will be up to us. You see, I don't want to even go deep into it, but it would be unfair as well. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but we should be able to think about these things. And it will give us to understand the urgency and the need to be very careful. Now, let's say it happens. For whatever reason, elections disputes. Either way, I don't want to say who win or who lost. Dispute. And the opposition or opposition and government supporters or wherever it is into this thing. What will happen? We don't expect. We expect the police. We expect other law enforcement agencies. Law enforcement, the police. They're this thing to keep the peace. To keep the peace. People have their democratic right to exercise and so on, and the leadership to come together. That's why we expect the opposition to start talking to each other now. They are not enemies. You should be enemies. Start to have this culture of negotiation, culture of talking to each other for the peace and for our democracy. Then these leaders will talk together and other things will talk together. But if they fail, let's say for any reason we have an open country, what would the army do? You expect the Senegalese army to come out and fire onto Gambians? No, I don't think so. But it says it happened. What do you think a Gambian soldiers would do? You think Gambian soldiers would then go and support the Senegalese soldiers and fire on their people? I don't think so. What the other opposition parties will do? You think they will go and align themselves with Barrow to say that, yeah, because it's right for the Senegalese and the army to fire on our people? No, I don't think so. Would Barrow not have lost the moral authority to continue? His legitimacy would have been undermined. You think what would be the most practical thing to do? To take Barrow out of the country and fly out and defuse the situation, or to continue to see Gambians being shot in the streets? What would happen? What would Gambia do? I don't think that's the last scenario. It's not likely. You know, when you do scenarios, you give them highly likely, and go on that. It's not likely. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's not likely. These are things we need to look at. But why are we even talking about this? Just the failure of Barrow. That's why we are going into this contingency planning. We could have all the contingency plannings of elections. Elections could have been a festive period, in fact. We could have done that. Gambia, we can do things the way we want. Not to be the orthodox of what happens in Africa when elections happen is this. No, should not be. But all that will come out of leadership. All that will come out of leadership. Now, let's move on. There's another point which I said I would come on to. What is the additional troops mandate, or what type of contingency planning have they factored in? Are they to facilitate the evacuation of Barrow? I've touched on that. Then 14. What is the risk assessment taken on the future polarization of Gambia security forces, engineering of nationalist sentiments against against Senegal, and the risk that it poses to the Senegambian people? When you do contingency planning, risk assessment, any deployment, any mission, risk assessment. What's the risk here? Now, this is why, even if ECOMIC have to justify sending additional troops, the Gambia Armed Forces, this command and leadership should have handled this better. from my research from yesterday, no, they have not. We don't. The confidence of the men should not be undermined. The Gambia Armed Forces should not be undermined. Things should have been handled in a way. We should not be landing issues. We have this from where? Because it's been published in Senegal. There's a lot that has to be done. Communication strategy should have been built. This is to avert disgruntlement, to further eliminate the Gambia Armed Forces. This should be presented as a joint operations between the Gambia Armed Forces and ECOMIC. You see, there's a lot of strategic planning that needed to be done in order to neutralize any risk. That's why when you do the risk assessment, you see, okay, how the army or Gambia Armed Forces would perceive this. If they're going to perceive this, how can we do it in a way that, because of it's important, it's necessary, it's a priority to be done to reinforce the economy? How can we do this? Then you develop the communication strategy and to implement that. 1. 2. The communication strategy should go further to answer how will Gambians, how would the opposition, because they are the leaders they are part of the leadership, how would Gambians perceive this? Civil society, how would they perceive this? That's why it's important, this inter-party committee. It's important to include civil society into this, because civil society will cascade this information down to the public, and the political party leaders will cascade this down to their members. Oh, it's okay. We've been consulted last month. We looked at this. We had a discussion with ECOMIC. We have a discussion with ECOMIC and the Gambia Armed Forces, because now we start to see Gambia Armed Forces and ECOMIC working together and sitting down with our politicians to say, look, we have an assessment and anticipation, and just for contingency planning, we just think of, we might need an additional troops. It's nothing to this for this to fulfill our mandate. And let it this not be an intimidation or a seen perceived as anything else, but it's part of our mandate, part of our contingency planning as to do. Now that would have neutralized any perceptions and all the rumors or the fear or anything. That's why I want to reassure Gambians of the fear. If it happens, I'm not saying that it will not, but it's not likely to happen. But it should have been dealt with better. That's why we need the leadership that understand how to govern. Security is about governance. It's about good governance. It's not about the physical part is part of security, but it's to avert any problems, you have to have good governance in it. Now, furthermore, this will manage the people in a way that their nationalistic sentiments would not be irritated. They will not be irritated to be Gambia. It will happen. But it would have been dealt with, because civil society, the political party, everything would have been part of it. The Gambia Armed Forces would have been part of it, and everything. And it would have been just a normal operational procedure. And then there's no, and the sentiments would have, the sentiments, as we are neighbors and people, family and everything, to avert that sentiments that we might have against the Senegalese. And I said the risk posed to Senegambian people, because for God forbid, if an open conflict happens and we see economic or troops doing the wrong thing, the Gambian nationals, I'm saying that it's likely to happen. Gambian nationals might take it onto their nationals. You see, these are all contingency planning. This is a risk assessment you do in your contingency planning, in deployment of troops. To avoid these problems happening. Did they do this? I hope they did. But it did not look like they have communicated this. And this should be communicated. 15. We expect to hear our opposition politicians address the serious risk to our national security, especially the new players in the political scene, those that promise a different politics. These are the discussions. These are things that we need to be addressed. Especially, why did I say especially? Because we have this problem of the opposition reacting not been proactive in dealing with problems or issues, about averting problems. Now we have a lot of people out there, independent and new political parties, aspiring political leaders are out there saying that they're coming because they want to do things new, things differently. We don't hear them. We don't see them doing that. They are in fact following the footsteps. And if we really want to do the change, we have to change our operational procedure. We have to change. We have to engage the people more on policy, on their concerns, on other things. Look, we Gambians know the problem. We are living the problems. We need the solutions. Gambians needed to be convinced with that solutions. And let's move away from this agitation of tribe and all this nonsense. The difference now, the people to make the difference are worried more about their jobs, worried more about their living and other things. I'll tell you, they will not care who brings the solution. Then take the solution to them. Don't even try to identify who you are. You are eligible to run as a Gambian. That's what matters. Get the message, get the messengers and the message right. Countries that make a difference, that's what they did. Again, if you want to go and study Zambia elections, what made the change? That was it. When the incumbent played on the tribe card, what did happen? The opposition did the right thing. They approach the youths, they send youths up to youths, and they send solutions to the youths and the promises. 16. Gambia will not be intimidated. We gone past the stage of fear. The state of national security is threatened by incompetence, corruption, and the dictatorial ambitions of power. Gambians, that's why I hold this program today, just to reiterate that. And I went through this contingency planning that I think that is what it is. Logically, try to do that. I'm not saying that's what it is, but to think about that, proactively engage Gambians, to reassure them to think that way, and to start to engage positively, to take out, don't think of that somebody's trying to make us fear. I know that Barrow would want that. Because Barrow have been saying, Ecomoc is here, my distance here, because the guy is just clueless. It's just clueless. Gambians, let's not fall for that. Let us not be irritated, let us not be agitated. That's what I'm fearing for. Agitation and being irritated and a fault line to come out as a catalyst to destabilization. No. I think our leaders would be in position to take care of this. The international community will be in position to take care of this. The people on the ground will be responsible to take care of this. And we will be here, just as we did in the past, and analyze everything and influence the outcome. Barrow cannot win us. The fear is gone. Nobody will be fearful of anything. Go out there and campaign, go out there and vote, and respect the rule of law. That's all we ask for. There's no Senegalese citizen, no Senegalese soldier stupid enough to open fire on a Gambian. But we have to avoid that. It might happen, but we can avoid that. That's why I want to emphasize that we can avoid this. But with leadership, all what we talk about here, as I said, it doesn't stop here. We will reach out to the leaders and try and exchange these ideas, and we hope they will start to think that way and start it. It's our problem, Gambia. What's threatening us in national security is the corruption, in the incompetence, and the dictatorial tendency of power. That's what I said, and that's how I started this program. The land grab, the business deals, everything about projects is about corruption. To force himself onto us. The incompetence of the people around him, they are all our threat. That's our threat. They will do anything to maintain, continue to be president advisors, orders to think that, okay, if he wins this time, now I will be a minister, or I will be this, I'll have more money. That's all they're fighting for. Nobody around Barrow is doing things knowing that he's doing it for Gambia. None of that. They are not telling the truth. They'll tell you that, but they know deep down it's for themselves. They know deep down Barrow is for himself. Look at today. Jammeh, you see, I don't want even comparisons with Jammeh. Jammeh took him time even to build a mansion in Kanilai, or develop Kanilai. Barrow did that in 2 years. Double mansions and infrastructure, everything that he needs. That's what his priorities are. Buying vehicles, buying everything, that's what his priorities are. Not only that, he has acquired properties in Fajara. He has acquired properties in Tangier. He has properties in Senegal and America. He did all this within 4 years. That's what his interest is. That's what he's scared of. That if he leave office, we are going after that. Now he do everything. That's where our national security is. But finally, guys, I have to leave now. But what I'm saying here is, everything what I said here, especially talking about contingency plan, it's for us. I mean us leaders. Yes, we are all leaders here. Us within political parties, to engage our political party leaders. Us that support any campaign, let's engage that. Let's deal with this elections very maturely. People going out there fabricating should stop. Not against SFR, the Ahmadiyya thing, that's nonsense. Against UDP, that's nonsense. Against this is nonsense. Look, attacking each other does not give anything to your party. What we ask for is, hold them accountable. Hold UDP accountable if you think they're doing wrong. Or if you think you do things better than UDP, sell that. If you think that you can do better than SFR, sell that. If you think you can do better than NUP, sell that. If you think you can do better than PRI, sell that. Or vice versa, sell that. Our problem should be how to replace Barrow, not to keep Barrow. If anybody, if we cannot see that, that's our problem. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good day.